Hello once again, everybody. This is Kevin Shortell with Note School. Some of you may not be aware that Note School has two special events per year. We have our Summer Summit and we have our Note Expo in November. And both of those events are extremely educational and they're a lot of fun too. We have a social aspect to it and everything else. And we'll bring in panelists, we'll bring in experts on various topics, and many times we'll have a theme that runs throughout the event. For example, the slides that I created for today's blog post is from the Summer Summit that we did a little while ago. And there was an open panel discussion where people could ask questions about a topic that was just drilled down upon. This topic was owner title policy versus lender title policy, and there seems to be a lot of confusion around that. Do we need an owner title policy if we buy a note? Do we need a lender's policy if we buy a note? Do we need both? How do these policies work? Do they work the same way? So we had a big discussion on that and then an open panel, and the open panel was so good I decided to build these slides around that, and the people who were asking the questions at that time in this panel were our own Susan De La Garza and Eddie Speed. So let's drill into it a little bit here. First of all, Susan made this quote, which I thought was brilliant, and I've added it to the slide there. It says, "You can get any level of comfort to title you want to pay for." And that really hits this right on the head, because if you want to get an additional policy, you can always get an additional policy. If you don't want additional policies, you don't have to get additional policies. But you should know, obviously, what do they cover and how do they behave, because there's two types of policies that come into play here. One of them, as you can see, is called the owner's policy. The owner's policy is for the property owner. The mortgagee policy is also known as a lender's title policy, so that would obviously pertain to the note owner. Two different policies, and they behave differently. Here's what I mean. The lender's policy ensures the lien position for the lender. It ensures the lien position at the time that the policy was created. It's also assignable. So if there's an existing policy, you don't need to get another one. Can you get another one? Absolutely you can. Do you need to get another one? That's what you'll have to determine once you understand what exactly that covers. Now, on the simple basis, it can work like this. If Bank of America did a loan and the loan went bad, and then you bought the loan, that policy automatically assigned over to you. If you bought the note from an equity firm and the equity firm had purchased it from Bank of America, that policy is automatically assigned to you. So it's assigned from every lender, all the way down the line. So you do not need to get another one. You might want to get one, and that's what Susan was saying here when she said you can get any level of comfort to title that you want to pay for. So having said that, let's drill down a little bit deeper here so you get a better understanding. Let's say that a loan was originated on January 2nd, 2014. A property was sold, they needed financing, they got a loan from Bank of America. Bank of America then created a deed of trust and a note. In addition, Bank of America purchased a lender's policy. They wanted to be assured with an insurance policy that that loan that they just created was in a senior position. There were no other liens that superseded them and placed them into a junior position. Very simple. So they got the policy for that. So let's say some time goes by and eventually that note goes into default. The people stop making the payments. Well, that note and hundreds of others is going to be bundled up and sold at an auction to an equity firm, which we'll call a hedge fund. The hedge fund then turns around and keeps out of those big auction sales the one that they want, and then they carve off some of the lower price band assets. So let's say this note falls into that category, and they sell that to Colonial Funding Group. Colonial Funding Group sells that to your company July 1st, 2015. So we've had some time pass between the origination in January of 2014 and July 1st of 2015. So you now own that note. Is there a lender's policy in place? Absolutely there is. Was it automatically assigned to you? Yes, it was assigned to the hedge fund to you, and to Colonial, and then Colonial to your company. Automatically, you just assume that particular policy. So there is a lender's policy there, but the question becomes, what does that policy ensure? What it ensures is that that lien was in first position when it was created back on January 2nd, 2014. So your follow-up becomes, could there be other liens that are now attached to this property from the time it was originated in 2014 to July 2015? Could there be other liens? Absolutely there could. Part of your due diligence before purchasing a note is due diligence on the property and due diligence on the note paperwork. So as a part of doing that, you should recognize that there's some liens on there. So in this example, let's say they didn't pay their property taxes. So there's a property tax lien. That property tax lien by state law jumps to the front of the line. It jumps in first position in front of your note. But as a part of your due diligence, you should have already known that. And it's an easy cure. To cure that, it's real simple. All you do is pay it. So that is cured. Now, let's say you paid those property taxes. At this point, do you want to get a new lender's policy that ensures you that you're back in first position? That's what it comes down to. And that's why Susan once again said you can buy any level of comfort that you want to when it comes to title. If you want a new policy at that point in time to show that you're back in the first position, you can do that. If you don't want a new lender's policy because you know you own the note and you know it's in first position, you don't have to. What I can tell you is that the industry itself, for people who do what we do, when we buy notes and hold notes, we do not typically get a new lender's policy because we know the position that we're already in. But you can get any level of comfort. So if you choose to get a new policy, you can do that. If there's any weird circumstances around this, you could certainly do that and get that type of policy. All right, that's very different then from the owner's title policy. The owner's title policy ensures the owner of the property at that time that they have legitimate title to that property. In other words, they can do a whole chain of title search on that to see here's where the property was sold the first time, then it went to this buyer, then it went to this buyer, then it went to this buyer. They look at the documentation of how that property was titled, general warranty deed, special warranty deed. They look at all of those things, and the title company will say, yes, we ensure that you have clear and legitimate title to this property. Now, that type of policy, as you can see, is not transferable. And that's why every time you purchased a property, whether for yourself or an investment property, you had to get a new owner title policy each time that you did that. Okay? Because those, unlike the lender's policy, these type of policies, owner title policies, are not transferable. So that's the quick difference between the two and the different behavior that they have.